Good news that nobody was killed at the event at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Um, Lately, I'm having fantasies about women, um, and there are suggestions that are hard to believe. Um, what if this woman or that woman wanted me? And I've been questioning whether it's even possible for women to actually give birth to another woman's pregnancy, to another woman's reproductive cell. Whether it really works like they say, or whether they're saying that to see if people will have a criminal conspiracy. What they concealed, they told us in grade school or middle school, they showed us a video, and maybe they showed us a video, or yeah, probably we saw a video, and it was sperm cells fertilizing a female reproductive cell. And it was a microscopic female reproductive cell because the sperm cells are microscopic and the egg cell was not much bigger. But the reality is that a woman's egg cell is inside of an egg that it seems to be about the size of a small bird's egg. Like it's maybe not quite as large as a turtle's egg. So a woman has an egg every month, and that's why she has to menstruate so much, because it's a significant uh, size of a biological cell. It's a significant size of biological tissue. And it seems that the egg is attached to the uterus at the opening of the fallopian tube. And it's ensconced in the opening of the fallopian tube. So is it really possible then to extract the egg and put it in another woman? Or is it a difficult procedure that involves um, extracting the nucleus out of the egg and putting it into another woman's egg where the egg stays ensconced in the fallopian tube? So maybe they cannot simply like remove the egg and it falls down like a sort of like a marble or something. It's something the size of a marble falls out of a tube that's inside the woman's uterus. And do they really do that? Is that maybe that's the extraction procedure, hypothetically? Um, but then, can they really put that egg into another woman? And will the other woman's uterus um, put capillaries in through that egg, uh, through the outer? Uh, it's not the shell of the egg. It's not a shell because it's not crunchy. It's like a turtle's egg or something. Will the other woman's uterus send capillaries into the egg to embrace it and make it bind to the uh, woman's uterus who's going to host the surrogate woman? Or do they have to take the nucleus out of the egg and then put the nucleus from the donor woman into the egg of the host woman? So, is it really possible that they have women acting as surrogates, giving birth to another woman's pregnancy, or is that something they're just saying to confuse people and to make men paranoid, or to make men think about stealing a woman's eggs? Um, so that's an interesting question, and I'm skeptical. They're suggesting uh, there that women might have gotten pregnant. Well, no, they might have children from yourself, and I thought, well, how would that be possible? They would be, you would see that they were pregnant, you'd see them giving birth, and then you would know whether there was a pregnancy that was unaccounted for that could have been another biological father. Um, because a woman's time is, if she's a public figure, she doesn't take like a year off where she could have hidden pregnancy. She's always, let's say she's a public figure, she's always being seen in society. So there's no way that she could have a pregnancy that was unaccounted for, unless they declared that there had been a, what do you call it? When the fetus is stillborn, like a miscarriage. So if they say a woman had a miscarriage, that could be when she gives birth to another man's, who is the biological father instead of her husband. But is it really possible that they have a donor? No, that they have a woman as a surrogate, and then one woman provides the reproductive cell. I don't know whether it's really possible if the cell can be transported from one woman's uterus to another, or whether it will not connect. It seems like if a fruit is plucked off of the tree, you can't put that fruit onto another tree. So that's what it's comparable to when a woman's egg is ensconced in the fallopian tube, I guess, and it's ready to make the placenta, which is between the uterus and the embryo. Then if you remove that egg, you break that connection between the egg and the uterus, and that's like pulling the fruit off of a tree branch. Can you graft the fruit onto another tree branch? I don't know. So I'm wondering, I should be skeptical about some of this stuff, because I didn't know that a woman's egg was as big as a marble, because I thought, well, what I'd seen in grade school, a woman's egg was microscopic. It's not microscopic. So there's things that I didn't know that are recently having been revealed. So I can't assume that I have good information on the practice of a surrogate giving birth to another woman's pregnancy. I don't know if that's really possible. So, okay, they're trying to fool me. Like, what if, women of prestige had given birth to a child of which you are the biological father? And, that's tempting to believe it. Wouldn't that be nice? And flattering. But is it true? Is it plausible? And so they're, filling my mind with ideas of women getting pregnant from my reproductive cells, and I don't have any evidence that it's true. However, considering how much I've suffered alone, it seems plausible that some women had gotten pregnant, because it would balance out some of my suffering. So if it was just all those 40 years that I've been suffering alone, I'm 50 years old and I've spent so much of that time alone, it would seem that there would be some balance if some women had given birth to children of whom I'm the biological father. But I don't know whether it's possible that they could have surrogates, that they could have hidden pregnancies, a pregnancy that another woman carries and gives birth to. I don't know if that's possible. So I've got these fantasies in my head, women named Caroline, and I don't have any confirmation. And it's interesting to think about it, but I don't know what's actually biologically possible, because they fooled me already once with the stories about that the woman's reproductive cell was microscopic. It starts out microscopic when it's generated, but then it grows larger and larger into a fully developed egg that's ready to be fertilized. And I think it stays ensconced in the end of the fallopian tube, waiting to be fertilized. So, I don't know if they can really do that thing that they say they can do with surrogates, moving the egg from one woman to another. I don't know whether that works or not. So, okay, now, what about me and my genetics, my big brain? It's a large volume brain. My jaw is deficient. The size of my jaw is deficient, and my nose is also deficient. If you want to know how big a person's nose is, look for where the nose connects to the face and measure the distance from the bridge of the nose to where the nose connects to the face, and look how much vertical dimension you have in the nasal passages, and that's also deficient on me. my jaw size is deficient, and I don't have good cheekbones. It's good if you have a little bit bigger cheekbones and a little bit more distance between your pupils. So I'm not such a great specimen. My jaw size is undersized, and my upper lip should be larger, and my lower lip should not be as big. Nevertheless, I've got a good brain size, and a lot of women would approve of the child that they would give birth to. Nevertheless, there are men with better faces and very rare men who have an equally large brain. Or I'm 6 foot, over 6 foot tall, and then my brain is large. But there are men who have equally as large brains and larger. Very few, but they exist. And some of them also have a better face and a bigger brain. So anyway, what's my point about this? And people say, what's the reason for women choosing you if you have a bunch of women who've chosen to breed with you as your breeding partners? Well, there's more to it. There's also, there's my accomplishments, and there's my mission, my goals, and my purpose that's in the future. So women who agree with my purpose and my goals in the future can give me more prestige if they want to give birth to a child of whom I'm the biological father, even though I'm not the best looking man. And there are men whose brains are equal as large, and a few who have a larger brain. And some of these men have a better face. I have a deficient sized jaw, and I think some women have a good jaw, and they like to give something in return for the fact that they're getting their next generation gets a brain size upgrade, and then my next generation from them gets a better looking face with a bigger jaw and a better nose. So that's something in return. Some women like that I have a deficiency that they can their genetics can contribute something to compensate for my deficiency. So some women, I think they like that their genetic contribution can enhance the next generation of my genetics with compensating for my deficiency, which is that undersized jaw. That if you don't see it from the side view, you don't have a good view of it. My undersized jaw is a deficiency. They might be more tentative about trying to get the reproductive cells. So then men will be wanting to compete with me, like, look, I have an equally large brain and a better jaw and a better nose and a better looking face. And that's true that they can compete on those on the grounds of those measurements and those their look. However, I'm not saying that I'm the best. That's not my argument. My argument is help me with my purpose in the future to and help me enhance my prestige and keep me going. So I'm not saying that I'm the best, and I'm not the best, but my achievements are the best. So I should have a very high level of social credit from my achievements, social credibility from my great achievements that are intellectual achievements. I'm the world's leading intellectual of the century. And I have a purpose for the future to do a lot of optimizing and enhancing of the systems, agriculture systems, industrial systems, transportation systems, and social systems, changing people's beliefs about history and building a better future. So there's a lot more to it, and so that's the reason that I'm saying I'm not the best genetic specimen in the world. I'm clearly not, and I've never thought so. But from the age of 40 to 50, I proved that I've achieved a great deal in intellectual work as a cognitive contributor, and I have work yet to be done. And the more people help me with enhancing my prestige is fine. But I actually want to get the women. I want to get the women who want to be pregnant. I want to get them pregnant directly, and if they don't actually need to. It's normal to have sex to do it, but it's not right to be attached to the idea of having sex. See, I don't like being called the crab. They're saying he breeds like a crab, taking uh, his reproductive cells by jerking off like a crab, grabbing his own reproductive cells and inserting them into the woman. Um, I've been unaware of that until 2006, no, 2026. 2026, this is the first year that I've been aware of any women having given birth to children of whom I'm the biological father, and I still don't have the confirmation of it, but I think it's very plausible. Um, but I don't like to be called the crab because that's suggesting that's my modus operandi, is to be sneaky and to transport my reproductive cells around when I don't want to be sneaky. I want to um, preferably actually have sex with women to get them pregnant. And even if not having sex, at least be in the same room when they get pregnant for my reproductive cells, not to be um, uh, sneaky about it or not to require a courier. I don't like that because some other man can swap his reproductive cells. A man who looks like me can have his reproductive cells, and he'll look like me, but he won't be as big, and he'll have a smaller brain. He'll look a lot like me, and they could have made such men who are my sons. They could have made biological descendants of mine who are with a smaller woman, so they have a replica, and that's fine if my sons are not as big as me, but I don't want the bait and switch operation. So I think they would not be using my sons because I would say, hey, good news, I've got a grandchild through my son breeding. But it would be someone who looks like me but isn't as big. And then they'd say, look, he made a small deficient child. You think that he's going to have a big child because he's 6'3", and then he's got a son who's only 5'11", but they could have done that with another man's reproductive cells. You see, that's the reason I don't want to use couriers, and I've never approved of it, and I've had no knowledge of anyone doing that. But suddenly they're saying he's the crab, he's reproducing by couriers, and his reproductive cells are getting carried around by couriers and getting women pregnant. And wait a second, are you sure that's really my biological child? Have you really verified that, or did they actually switch it out with another man who looks like me, who's maybe 6 foot instead of 6'3"? Maybe he's 5'11" instead of 6'3". Maybe he looks like me and he's 5'11", and he's got a smaller brain. And they say and then they could give the child a little lip filler and say, that's Paul's child. Look, it's not as big as you expected, is it? You see? So I don't want to deal with that couriers and being called the crab. And that's a scam that they've been doing because some men who are jealous of me have been getting involved, and they've been using men who look like me in place. So they're racking up a tally and saying, Paul has a huge number of descendants. How many of those are really my children of whom I'm the biological father, and how many of them are men who resemble me, who were selected instead of me to make it look like my children are smaller than they really would be? They're very sneaky, the Jewish men who are controlling telling the women that they'll do these deals. Yeah, you can get pregnant from Paul. I know a way to get to his reproductive cells. Don't do that. Just, let me meet the women, and it's not the most terrible idea if I would just get her pregnant directly by having sex with her. That's the most normal way to do it. But I don't want to have other men sneaking their genetics in, men who are smaller than me, whose brains are smaller than me, who are sneaking their genetics instead of my genetics into women who were planning to breed with me, and then some other guy gets them pregnant. I don't want that. That's stealing my prestige. That's costing my social credibility. All right, that's all for this video.